As the sun rose on Thursday, February 4th, 2016, New Zealanders awoke from a slumber they'd been under for such a long time. Because on that particular morning, Prime Minister John Key and key representatives from around the world were in town to sign the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, or TPPA, much to the surprise of, and underreported by, local and international media. The city of Auckland was about to have a very brutal wake-up call. By roughly 8 a.m, an estimated 5,000 protesters peacefully blocked motorway entrances into the city and blocked all the crossroads surrounding Sky City Casino, which was the venue rumoured to have housed the signatories of the trade agreement. By midday, even with all major motorways into the city blocked, an unprecedented amount of New Zealanders flooded into the city to join the peaceful protest march. The protest was so large that some high-rise residents saw it stretching as far as the eye could see. According to a number of veteran activists, there could have been as many as 30,000 to 40,000 people attend the protest in the middle of a workday, not including the several thousand activists blocking key intersections around the city. Leaving many to ask, why did they do this? What would motivate so many people to oppose the TPPA in one of the largest and most disruptive protests seen in decades? Well, here's why. The TPPA is a deceptively titled free trade deal, which is thousands of pages long and only contains a little bit about trade. In truth, what it really represents is governance of most economic activity in the oceanic region, meaning that the signatory countries will now essentially be governed by those who drafted the agreement, in this case mostly consisting of the heads of major multinational corporations. The way in which this agreement will force the will of companies upon governments and thus on their people is a simple clause allowing any company to sue a government in an international corporate financed court that virtually 100% of the time rules in favour of the companies. Ergo, if any government passes a law that promotes safe smoking, for example, is liable for litigation by tobacco companies for lost profits. Profits which they never had to make, never will make, but will continue to be paid by the government until the end of time, or until the country in question runs out of money. Once they do, the company can then take public lands, public infrastructure, public companies and utilities as payment for their imaginary lost profits. In reality, this is a precursor to regional governance by supranational entities, much in the same way that the EEC, or European Economic Community, was once a trade deal and then morphed into the EU, or European Union, with a centralised authority and a severely weakened national sovereignty as nations are unable to exit the agreements and are often bankrupted because of them. The TPPA will affect every aspect of your daily life. Of particular note to the police is the possibility that a privatised police or security force might be set up. What about the wages of New Zealand officers? What about their holiday pay? What about their job security? What about the people? It is far more preferable that New Zealanders have people who are well trained and paid accordingly instead of a $10 an hour security guard whose training consists of being handed a taser. The mainstream media is a very large apparatus, so although it's often criticised for spinning or covering up the truth, it doesn't mean all members of those organisations are bad people. After all, just because one cop assaults someone in an unprovoked attack doesn't mean all cops assault people for no reason. We can't blame reporters for the lies the media tells any more than we could blame a clerk at McDonald's for being a poison purveyor. A person's job title does not define who they are. But if they do start trying to report the real, uncensored truth, they'll soon find themselves without a job. That said, any balanced, truthful coverage of this protest by those in the media deserves a noted thanks on behalf of the people of New Zealand and the protesters themselves. Unfortunately though, in the days following the protest, the bulk of media coverage hushed up its significance, underreported the numbers, keeping articles about it buried in the back pages, with large amounts of biased pro-TPPA, anti-protester fabricated rhetoric, if any coverage at all. Prime Minister John Key simply dismissed the protesters as being a, quote, renter mob, and then signed the TPPA anyway, with a big smile on his face. Many Kiwis support Mr Key's decision and actually hate the protesters simply because they disagree with him, leading to a very important distinction between the personality and the policies of Mr Key. This is a message to all John Key supporters. If you really love John Key and think he's the best Prime Minister we've ever had, I don't hate you. I don't think I'm better than you. I don't want to mess up your day. I don't wish to assault you. I won't damage any of your private property. I think your life has value, and I respect you. I simply believe the opposite about John Key. I'm just joking. Mostly. Just remember, you cannot know, disregard, and deride a person you've never met based on just one of their beliefs, or one of the people they happen to be a fan of. I don't like John Key for many fact-based reasons. These facts are hard to accept, which is why the people who reveal these facts are often laughed at, called names, intimidated, assaulted, arrested, raided, and have their livelihoods destroyed, just for revealing these uncomfortable facts about John Key to the world. There is no real difference between us. We're both human, and we both love New Zealand. So let's not have a difference of opinion over a head of state come between us, because when John Key's gone, you and I will still have to live here together in peace. Cheers. Key is one of the country's most popular prime ministers, and the devotion of some Kiwis towards him presents a big wall to those who speak out against his policies, forcing many people to be fractured into different sides of a debate, divided into easily conquered factions. But thankfully, we saw something different in Auckland that day. There were no Māori, no Pākehā, no police, no journalists, no politicians, no businessmen, only New Zealanders, one and together against the TPPA. Thank you for watching.